Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel, and I found this incredibly interesting. Look at the headline here from the Crypto Basic. Ripple CTO says hooks could pose multi-billion-dollar risk for XRPL users. So yes, the warning, and we should hear it. David Schwartz warning that there's a chance that if something goes wrong, if you implement an amendment that allows for smart contract functionality, which is what the hooks amendment is, there's possible that if things go off the rails, it could be a multi-billion-dollar mistake. And I can only imagine the level of harm that would cause XRP holders and the entire ecosystem, including from a development perspective. But you know what's really cool? Despite that being the case, and despite him issuing this warning, it might sound like he's anti this, but not so much. In fact, he thinks there's a real serious chance that we could end up with smart contract functionality on the XRP ledger, layer 1. That would be incredible, because to me it seems like that's been one of the greatest hurdles in terms of increasing developer activity. It's, you know, if you look at all the other platforms where there's tons and tons and tons of developers, what do they have in common? Smart contract functionality. There are more types of things you can build if you do that. Now, I've spoken a fair bit about this recently, so I'm going to try to not regurgitate too much of what I've said on this topic recently, but I will note that there absolutely can be and are cryptocurrencies that don't have an insane amount of developer activity but have been adopted for other reasons. 3 off the top of my head. Bitcoin. What the hell does that thing do? You know, if you look, yeah, it's got a few hundred developers, but if you consider how much money's been poured into it and the fact it's #1 in market cap, that's pitiful. That's almost nothing. You know, compared to Ethereum's whatever 2,500 developers. So it's not the case that development activity is the only and end all be all. It's something that is a factor. It does matter. You've got XRP. XRP's #6 in market cap because the market has voted it there. It's great, generally speaking, for payments, and there are things you can do with it that you can't do with Ethereum because of the entire structure and just how. I mean, think about how fast the XRP ledger is and what it's good at, and how cheap transactions are. There are things that you'd be better off building on the XRP ledger as opposed to Ethereum. So, right there, like there's a reason the XRP ledger exists. There's a reason that it's #6 in terms of market cap, and it has a built-in decentralized exchange. So there's another example, just in the top 10. And then if you go down to I think #13, unless it's moved since I've last looked, there's Tron. Tron has 16 full-time developers. You might as well round down to 0. Nobody's building anything on Tron. It's #13 in market cap because it has an extensive stablecoin ecosystem. Raoul Pal noted that it's the largest stablecoin ecosystem in crypto. So assuming that fact is correct, I mean, either way, it's there for a reason. So I'm just saying, it's not the case that XRP necessarily would be going the way of the dodo if we don't get this approved, but it's exciting to know that it still could come because that will just further ensure the long-term viability of XRP. Now, just to do a bit of a table setting here, let's go back to June of last year. Here's a headline from me today. XRP Ledger's ambitious plan to dethrone Ethereum unveiled. And I want to share with you perspective from Schwartz. I'm sure most of you are familiar with him by now. Created XRPL Labs, and summoned one of the most well-known developers within the XRP community. I think it's safe to say here. And he issued a warning, dating back to June, because his perspective, agree with him or not, is that XRP Ledger is going to be in trouble potentially if we don't do something that allows the XRP Ledger to evolve, specifically enabling smart contract functionality. And so here's what Schwartz said back on June 1st of last year, just to quickly set the table, and then I'm going to get right into what David Schwartz had to say. He wrote, why is it always the ETH/EVM ecosystems coming up with new cool features and ideas? And why is the XRP Ledger always playing catch-up? Because of smart contracts. You don't have to change the entire blockchain protocol. You get a blank canvas, come up with a new feature, and build it. I've been around in the XRPL ecosystem long enough to be certain it's not because of a lack of brains and creativity by XRPL devs. It's insanely hard to write core XRPL code. Even harder to get your idea merged by RippleX devs, close to impossible to get it voted in. So, how can XRP Ledger protocol chains lead instead of play catch-up with the latest crypto/DeFi fad and retail features by giving XRP Ledger protocol devs a blank canvas for their ideas and creativity as well. And at XRPL Labs, we've built just that. Hooks. And so, folks, this is the amendment that allows smart contract functionality natively, layer 1, right on the XRP Ledger. And then he says, with hooks, developers can add their own logic and state to accounts on XRP Ledger protocol chains with hooks enabled. Better key management, compliant features, enterprise features, games, automation, limited signing delegation, one implementation to rule them all. Almost half a year ago, we published a blog about hooks. Hooks aren't just an idea. The technology exists today. On our Hooks v3 testnet, the Hooks amendment is coming. We just finished a full Hooks security audit report to be published soon. We're working with compliance and legal to get a Hooks-enabled sidechain running. The chain will be there to stay, complementary to the XRP Ledger. It will launch with hooks enabled from Ledger 1. No ICO, no airdrop. We're not leeching. We're expanding the ecosystem. Okay, and so that did come to pass. The sidechain that he's talking about that's what became Zahao, and it has launched. Now, there was this response from Neil Hartner, who is a Ripple employee. He responded to the thread and wrote, because again, the question was, why is it that ETH/EVM ecosystems, why are they always the ones coming up with the cool new features and ideas? Why is XRP Ledger always playing catch up? And Neil Hartner's response was, same reason ETH/EVM ecosystems have repeatedly had millions stolen due to smart contract bugs, but you never hear about that happening in the XRPL ecosystem. And folks, you're going to see that type of concern also spouted from David Schwartz in just a moment. And so you guys will have to tell me where you come down on this ultimately. We'd say when he made his stance pretty clear, he responded and said, true, which is great, until that turns the XRP Ledger into the Nokia of crypto. I remember having a Nokia phone back in 1992. I'm sure a lot of you out there did as well. I remember playing Snake. Good times, good times. Of course, if you're about 10 years younger than me, you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And I'm 40, but anyway. So, look, and nothing but love and respect for Wietse Wind. I'm not completely convinced that the XRP... I'm not convinced of the stance that, the XRP Ledger would basically become, completely irrelevant, become the Nokia of crypto. If we don't get this approved, I'm not convinced of that because I see other cryptocurrencies that have true staying power for reasons other than smart contract functionality, other than some strong presence in terms of developer activity. There are a lot of different reasons that cryptocurrencies and blockchains are adopted. So developer activity undoubtedly is important. I'm not pretending like it's not. In most cases, that absolutely is true. It's just a question of, is it worth the risk? And so that's the point that Neil Hartner here was bringing up. Well, you don't have all these bugs and millions getting stolen. And Wietse Wind basically is saying, it's worth the risk, though, because otherwise we're irrelevant. That's the gist of the argument. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but that's the argument that's on your screen right there. And so that brings us to what David Schwartz had to say about this. And he's right. Like, this is a really big deal. Which is why, frankly, I'm glad that Zahao exists because it has hooks enabled from day one. It's been enabled from day one. So it's being tested in a real world environment in a live blockchain. That's good. So if it goes well for Zahao and it's got a sufficient track record, maybe then it's something we could consider implementing on the XRP Ledger once it's been battle tested, right? It's the same concept of if you think about Flare and it's got the Canary network, the Songbird. It's a separate blockchain, but it's not a testnet because it's actually live. It's in a live ecosystem. You can test ideas, but before you put a bunch of energy and maybe real-world resources into whatever it would be that would be on Flare, you test it in Songbird first, and then maybe you scale in a more serious way once you see it works. Then you plop it down on Flare. And so it's nice to see, since Zahao is a sidechain of the XRP Ledger, it's getting real-world testing right now. And so far as I'm aware, it's working quite swell. So anyway, the headline from the Crypto Basic, Ripple CTO says hooks could pose multi-billion-dollar risk for XRPL users. Ripple's chief technology officer, David Schwartz, has highlighted the potential hazards linked to the experimentation of smart contract-like capabilities in the XRP ledger through hooks. The commentary came during an exclusive interview with CoinDesk. The interviewer probed the exploration of the hooks feature, seeking insights into its roadmap and significance for XRP stakeholders. In response, Schwartz disclosed that Ripple had minimal input into the development of hooks. He noted the Ripple team acknowledged its promising potential during initial discussions. However, Schwartz voiced two potential risks associated with hooks for the XRP ecosystem. Firstly, he underscored the substantial financial risk posed by any potential flaws in the feature that could compromise the integrity of the XRP ledger. According to the Ripple CTO, such flaws, quote, would be a multi-billion-dollar problem, end quote, for XRP investors and stakeholders. So, folks, I understand and appreciate the hesitation surrounding hooks. I can understand if you're a developer why that's frustrating. I understand why Weetse Wind wanted to create Zahao, and I'm glad he did. I applaud him for that. I think that's fantastic. I don't hate the idea of hooks getting tested on a different blockchain first. I don't hate that idea. I'm just going to be honest with you. I would love to have that functionality on the XRP ledger right now and have developers start building stuff. But my God, like, so many of us have very real money invested in this thing, and if this goes sideways, it could be catastrophic for a ton of people. That's the concern. So I'm glad that David Schwartz said what he said, and I tend to side more so with David Schwartz, even though, of course, I appreciate what Weetse Wind's building, and I would love to one day see hooks adopted on the XRP ledger, and it might happen still. I'm optimistic for that at some point. But, walk before you run, basically, right? Anyway, piece continues. Furthermore, Schwartz stressed the importance of preserving the XRP ledger's primary function as a robust payment platform. And so, folks, this goes back to part of what I was saying at the outset of the video. I understand that without this functionality, there are only so many things that can be built. There's fewer things that can be built on the XRP ledger. But there's a place for a blockchain like this, which is why XRP is number 6 in terms of market cap. There's a demand for it, and XRP now has staying power. So even without hooks, I still think XRP can still be here fast forward a decade from now, even without it. I would imagine that it's still long-term viable. That's what the market's telling us makes sense to this point, at least. And yeah, it could change, but still, again, there is that opportunity for this functionality to be added at a future date. Piece continues. He expressed concerns that adopting hooks could transform XRPL into a more Ethereum-like network. Essentially, he sees it altering XRP Ledger's core purpose as a seamless payment protocol. So, folks, given that that's the reason that XRP is number 6 in market cap, people do value that. That's why XRP is where it is. If it actually took away from that core functionality, I would be against hooks. So I would need the developers out there and the validators out there who are more tech-oriented to make the arguments in order to persuade me one way or another. But I'm just saying, if it does anything to hinder XRP's use case as just broadly great for payments, then it's like, what's the point? There is a place in the crypto market for a coin like XRP that's just really good at that type of thing. So as long as we're not screwing that up, yeah. And as long as we're sufficiently certain that it's safe, okay, go ahead and add hooks. Anyway, piece continues. Nonetheless, during the interview, Schwartz expressed openness to welcoming XRPL's potential to serve purposes beyond its primary focus. He welcomed the concept of other chains evolving around XRP Ledger, addressing diverse use cases like smart contracts, real-world asset tokenization, and tokenized securities. Furthermore, the Ripple executive noted that the XRPL Labs, the team behind hooks, had launched their network Zahao, utilizing XRPL technology. As the Crypto Basic reported previously, Schwartz believes Zahao represents an effective avenue to test run hooks. He mentioned that if the tech demonstrates its efficacy without undermining the network's performance for other purposes, there could be a proposal to incorporate hooks into the XRP Ledger mainnet. Schwartz sees such a proposal coming to fruition within the next year or two. So, folks, that would be absolutely killer. If it's tested in a real-world environment, there's sufficient confidence that it's not going to screw anything up and the payment side of everything still works and people aren't going to lose bazillions of dollars, then on a scale of 1 to 10, I give that 2 thumbs up. So, that's my thoughts. You guys tell me. I'm sure not everybody's going to agree with me, and that's perfectly fine. But that's where I'm at right now. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.